All right, we have a great guest coming on tonight. Somebody that was with my football program in fourth grade. He was my water boy, and he lived in another town. So we have a great show here with Scotty Forbes. Scotty Forbes, a quarterback. We'll talk about it when he gets here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Scotty, what's up, buddy?
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I was talking about you when you weren't there, and I feel rude talking about you, not to your face. So I'll wait till you're
No worries. No
awesome,
worries.
man. Man, this man. It's been a long time.
Yeah, a couple years since you were up at Wagner, so
I'm talking before the Wagner. We'll get to Wagner in a second, but I'm talking when you were a fourth grader, man. When you were a fourth grader, you may not remember as much as I do, but I do. And your dad and my dad are good friends. And my dad said, he has a friend that has a kid that wants to be, can he be the water boy? And of course, yeah, right. And wow, who would ever thought that back in the day when you were giving water to Nick Sangiacomo and Brandon Clark, that years from now you're going to have this extensive resume that we're going to talk about. I'm real proud of you. I really am proud of you. Big fan of you for all these years and just watching your stops. Thank God for social media. We can keep in touch that way.
Right.
Bump into each other at Wagner when I took one of my recruits to Wagner, and you're a class act. And I want to brag about you right here. And we're going to talk about it. This show right here is about the process. Scotty, everybody here has to understand you don't get rich quick. You don't just, jump into a program and say, I'm the dude and I'm going Division I, or I'm a coach and all of a sudden I'm a head coach the next year. There's a process that happens. And with you, we're going to talk about it as an athlete. And you've been through a lot and you have this dream and nothing's going to stop you with your dream, right? You got it. And when I talk about to college coaches, I talk about does a kid got it? And it is something you can't put a number on. It's not a speed. It's not a bench press. It's just you got something that gravitates to kids to, and you do that. You got that Tim Tebow charisma. I love it. You ever heard of Tim Tebow?
Oh yeah, you guys have referenced that.
How about
with me,
Trace
so
McCorsley? You ever hear of him?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let me talk about how we know each other, because that's the name of the show. All right, so everybody out there, I got a kid, Scotty Forbes. Way back in the day when he was a fourth grader, my dad had asked me to let a buddy of his son be a water boy. He lived in Manahawkin, and it would do a big favor for my dad. And I said, sure. So you came on, and you came to all our home games, and you were my water boy. And you got to know the kids. The kids took care of you, and you had a nice rapport. And your mother, let's face it, your mother didn't like football, right?
Well, I think the funniest part about that is when after that season I asked to play, my dad agreed to my mom that he would never bring up football, that I would have to ask. But then when I did, he was like,
yeah, behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad he did, and we have some great things to talk about. But you left our program and just went, and you just have a journey. I'm going to zip right through it, and we're going to talk about it slowly later. But you moved to Virginia, and you went to high school at Briarswood, and you were with a program with the quarterback Trace McCorsley, who was at Penn State. And I got to meet when my kid Manny Bowen was there at Penn State as a linebacker. And I want to talk a little bit about him later. You were there for 2 years, transferred out to another school, Dominion High School, where you became a starter. In the midst of all this stuff, you were playing 7-on-7s with a team with Dwayne Haskins, who's with the Washington Redskins. And your junior and senior year, you were on the 17U and 18U U.S. national team that played at Dallas. I hate saying that, Dallas, Texas. I can't stand them, but you were the MVP of that All-Star game. We'll talk about that too. On your stop after that, you wanted to bring your recruiting up, so you went to an academy, a Midwest Prep sports academy in Illinois, a prep school. And then from there, you went to Wagner. You had a partial stop, went to Wagner. From there, you went to a JUCO in California, Santa Barbara City College. And then your last stop is where you're at right now. Hopefully it's home. It's Christopher Newport University, where you are now battling for the quarterback position in the NJAC of Division III. My dad already said he's going to come to a couple of your games.
Love that.
He's pumped about that. And that's a really quick summary of your stops, and we're going to talk about it in the next 30-something, 40 minutes about your stops. But let's talk about the quarantining right now, because that's why I'm doing my show. I'm bored at my house. I can't do nothing with my kids right now until Wednesday. We're going to have our meeting. What are you doing with your quarantining down in Virginia with your family and your new teammates that you really don't know too much about? So
Right.
how are you now communicating with them with quarantining?
So luckily, I did have 2 months at school to be with the winter workouts and whatnot. But once we got home, obviously, like the first 2 weeks, it was just a crazy adjustment. And so from the start, I was like, first off, I need to figure out how I'm going to stay in shape, all this. So my dad has always had a weight room, but then I ended up investing in it, adding more to it.
Mhm.
So I pretty much can do everything I want to do weight room wise, which is good. So just every day, me and a couple guys work out together, make sure we're doing that. And then as the team goes, a bunch of teams are doing Zoom calls. Just we're installing our new offense. So we do Zoom calls Tuesday through Thursdays, and then there's homeworks on it to make sure we're, getting it done. And then through that, we still had like our off-season competitions, big full team meetings. So yeah, we're still like pretty connected. And then we also have our own team group chat without the coaches, where we just kind of, talk the shit, whatever,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm sure you guys talk about us coaches in those chat meetings, don't you? I want to see those things. I'm going to be looking at our kids' chats now. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for the warning. But, Scott, it's got to be tough now for you, but it shows a lot about you because you're really adjusting to every place you go to. And everywhere you go to, they seem to love Scotty Forbes. Everywhere. When I was at Wagner, they loved you. You had a crowd of guys, and they rally around you. How are you showing what you got through Zoom with the kids right now? Because 2 months is hard to really know who you're all about. Because when you sweat with the boys, that's when you really bond with them. How are you showing who you really are on virtual?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to do that, I feel like, is just by example. And, like we have homework grades, so I'm making sure I'm doing good on those. Making sure that I'm involved in the meetings is like, I mean, you'll understand, like, once you're doing the Zoom calls coming up soon.
I do Google Meet.
Okay, yeah. And, like, on all these virtual things, you can turn your camera off and kind of hang out, But, just the thing for me is just make sure I'm involved, make sure I'm responding, asking questions, just showing that I really do care. That's really all you can do at this point, and I'm just I'm not a big talker. I used to kind of be, but it's so much more about just the example you show and how your actions speak so much louder. So that's kind of the way I approach it nowadays.
Scotty, I always tell everybody you only get one first chance.
Yeah.
Your first impression that you give on somebody, you don't get a second one. So
Right.
you come across very, very positive all the time. So I'm sure you're winning everybody over. But you never get that second, third chance to win over somebody on the first impression. So you win everybody over. You won me over, and I'm sure you're winning all my fans here over today with your charm, with that. Great. Now, let's talk about your resume, but let's have you talk about it. I want you to tell us a timeline of things that you went and done that led to you being now at, of course, Christopher Newport University. But you do got to start with you as a fourth grader at Barnegat, because it's my show.
Right.
All right. This is what this show's about, the process, and you're a great example for it. Take us away.
So timeline. Fourth grade was when I ball boyed. Did it the whole year. I remember y'all went to the playoffs that year. I remember that specifically still. then right after that year, I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to play football. My dad was all excited. My mom said, okay. Fifth and sixth grade, I played at Southern Regionals Pop Warner League. And I was the quarterback both of those years on certain teams.
Hmm.
And then moved to Virginia in middle school, which was a really big move. I was devastated, as any young kid was,
Oh yeah.
move. And then in
When
Virginia,
you guys left, I think my wife bought the furniture from your mom.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were also in Barnegat a couple of times looking at
So
model homes.
all the stains that you did on the couch when you spilt your juices, I had for all those years. So I've never forgotten.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
Um, then seventh grade, so Virginia was different. Like New Jersey was always Pop Warner.
Right.
But Virginia, like in our area, it was just there were so many people in one Northern Virginia area that we just did youth leagues, and we could fill like 12 teams each grade. So seventh grade, I played on a youth league team,
Hmm.
won a championship. I wasn't the quarterback though. It was the first time I never played quarterback, and so that was kind of interesting. I learned a lot. And then eighth grade, we made a middle school team, went to the championship, and I was the quarterback. And that was kind of the first year I realized that I wanted to be a quarterback. Um, and then there was also an all-star team that year that I
Hmm.
ended up making, but I was definitely a backup.
Hmm.
Actually, backup to a guy who's at Villanova right now, Daniel Smith, very
Hmm.
good. Um, and that year I did well at that thing, and I knew that all right, I can do something with this. Like I want to keep going. Like I love it. Um, Freshman sophomore year at Briarwoods, my freshman and JV team, we both went undefeated. And then that sophomore year, I played JV and varsity because Trace always won by 50. So I would sit in there and a couple times. Um, Scored a touchdown, which was super cool. And then watched him take us to a state championship for his fourth year in a row.
John Hanley High School. You ever hear that?
Yeah, but we never played them. I saw your Facebook. We didn't. I didn't play them because
Here.
when I was a freshman, I was only on freshman football.
So maybe Trace played him.
Maybe, but
He
I know,
said Trace. He said Trace single-handedly beat him.
yeah. I mean, Dominion played Hanley the year after I left too. So
Oh,
I,
okay.
yeah. Um, and then after that sophomore year, the whole offseason was a big competition between me and this upcoming senior.
Right.
It was very because Briarwood's Trace was so popular,
Tell me.
that
Yeah, so Trace. I mean, Trace was just an icon.
li-
And he
literally like a Virginia high school legend. Like
yeah, was. Did he play multiple sports?
he played basketball a little bit. I mean, he was a multi-sport athlete for sure, but once the years got more, he didn't really need to.
Oh, nice, nice. Go ahead.
So there's quick summing. That was a big competition that whole off season, and then it got to the last. I stuck it out till the last week of camp, our first scrim,
Right.
and I was not going to be the starter. So like I could just tell, and I left and transferred to Dominion, 15 minutes away, a week before the season started, and so I wasn't going to start that first game because I was only there a week. But we played our rivals that first game, and my first play was in the second quarter, and it was a touchdown pass. So then after that, it was kind of done, which was super cool. That's one of my favorite moments I've ever had playing. Then that junior year, we were pretty good. Went to the playoffs. Um, did pretty well. Um, then that year, I got invited to the USA team,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was the year where I was the third stringer going into the game behind two Division I guys,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just weren't performing, so I went in and did well and
Isn't
ended
that
up.
awesome?
That was
Everybody loves the backup quarterback because
yeah,
backup quarterback gets in, but you defied odds and you won the MVP there. And I hate saying that word, Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I don't like Dallas Cowboys. I
yeah.
do it at the Meadowlands, but go
And
ahead.
I will that like I said, the junior year touchdown pass is my favorite, but like that was easily like the most favorite moment I've had playing. So that just kept me going, and then that whole summer was recruiting this. I was getting a lot of interest, but obviously nobody would pull the trigger because of my size.
Your size.
Yeah, and I wasn't a Kyler Murray. I'll admit that. Like I'm not like a 4.5 speed throwing at 80 yards. So someone would have had to really love me, and like I just didn't get that. And then senior year came along. We were pretty average. You know, we had a great second half of the year. My first
Right.
half was good,
Right.
which meant that I wasn't going to get the schools I wanted.
Mhm.
Uh, so then the prep school thing was a huge it was a huge if anyone out there is listening and you're a late bloomer, um, a postgraduate program is literally the perfect thing for you because you're basically reclassing, but you play college teams, and you're pretty much showing that you can play in college and not waste a year of eligibility too.
Yep.
So I went there and had so much fun. Like that was my best statistical year, first hands down. Just had a crazy good time. Met a ton of great people from across the country. That was the first time I'd really been out there on my own in Chicago. Um, then Wagner offered late,
Mhm.
but still offered. So then I went there in August, and
So
then
when you went to that postgraduate, it reopened your recruiting.
yeah,
You didn't use up any eligibility because it's like your fifth year in high school, but you're playing postgraduates plus
right,
five. I think they call it plus five or plus one more.
yep. In New Jersey, that's what they call it. They have
Yep.
them there.
Yep. Yep.
It's
I
literally
recommend that, Scotty. I recommend that for kids who are young, like 17 type years old when they graduate, so they get to mature and get to be 18 and play
yep.
that fifth year. And now you're at the same level as if you were an older senior at 18 too with that. So
Right.
good. You went there and you went to Wagner. Go ahead.
And then Wagner, the first year of camp was good. I started to earn some reps. I mean, I wasn't going to play that year. There was a couple older guys, but I
Right.
definitely made some noise in camp. And then as soon as I did that, I tore my ACL. So that whole year was big, big, just learning the offense and all this stuff. And then more transfers came in the next year, so I got placed behind again.
Mm-hmm.
But through all that, I ended up earning some playing time as a Wildcat guy that sophomore year. Um, and then after that, they brought another guy, pushed me back again. So I was like, nope. And
And
then,
in college, man, you're at the mercy when a Division One A kid transfers in. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure of not playing that type of a kid
yeah,
because when a kid doesn't transfer into a one AA program to sit, and
yeah,
that kid who came in was the MVP of the bowl game, right?
yeah. So it was like pretty hard to even get a shot to compete with that guy. Um, so at that point, I knew that it was my time had been up because if you don't get a shot as a quarterback early, to start a game, and it's the same with all Division I schools. Like if you're a junior and you haven't played yet, like they're gonna play a younger guy. So I think that my time was up there. So then I went to the junior college through a friend that told me about it, um, and that was a beautiful place, Santa Barbara. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And but that was like the first year where I totally blamed myself for my play. So therefore, schools we'll talk more about it when you detail it, but I felt good about it, and then I just didn't perform the way I wanted. So only a few handful of schools gave me a shot, and Christopher Newport, CNU was one of them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Well, you got to understand too, man. When you keep moving out of now, you didn't just transfer to a school next to you. You're transferring across the country, all over. Like you were at Chicago, you're at New York. You go all the way to California, and now you're back in Virginia. Like,
mhm.
I mean, you've been all over the world. Just the resources that you are right now. Your resume is really good. So when you go out in the real world and you want to become a coach or something like that, you got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff to add to the table. You really do. I'd love to talk to you, sometime in the next couple of weeks about some of your stuff that you heard that from other coaches that
Mhm.
there. So that's great for you, man. Yeah, I want to break down a little bit of your journey right now. I really want to slow it down a little bit. We talked about your stops and all that, but I want to go right from when you were at Briarwood, and I'm going to ask you every stop certain things that I want to know about, like Briarwood with Trace McCorsley. Now, we just got done watching the Michael Jordan documentary, and the camera is following. I know he was that icon down there. I mean, he
Yeah.
was that legend down in Virginia that people talk about. So when he went to Penn State, we knew he was going to be very, very good, and he produced very well. And he's in the NFL right now, right? Where's he? Where's
The
he at?
So he's close to home again. So
Where is he at?
Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, he's just got it. That swagger.
Yeah.
And the guys rally around him. The guy Mike Gesicki, right here, the tight end from Southern Regional.
Yeah.
For him, and those two were a good connection for 4 years. Um, Tell me something that you saw from, because again, you're a younger kid, that you saw from a distance that you said, I want to be like him, that you took with him. What are some of the traits, some of the practice regiments that he did? What are some of the things that you took from him?
For sure. Like, I mean, so like I was his signal caller, or I was actually the dummy signals that sophomore year. So I got to just sit by and literally just watch him practice. So the first thing, hands down, was just he was a perfectionist. Like, if he messed up a play or the team messed up a play, they did it again. And it wasn't because the coach said it, it was because he said it. And like, even if it was one lineman stepped the wrong way, or missed a sign, he was like, run it back. Like, so right away I was like, that's a presence that you just demand perfection for. And he demanded for himself, but everybody else followed that. um and with that came the leadership. He was, because of his demand for perfection, um you could feel it in his pregame is like, you could literally feel it in his voice. Like, you'd get chill just because he had so much passion
Mm-hmm.
for. He was the kind of guy that just had passion for being good at everything he did. So like, whatever he did, he'd do it till he figured it out. Like, that's something that I think is natural, for sure.
Yeah.
It's something that it confirmed to me, like, yeah, I think I have that. Not to that extent because he's better, but I think as when I look, like, when I'm a coach and I look for a quarterback, like, I got to see that. And like when I was at Dominion, I made sure, like, when stuff like that happened, that I would say, turn it around, do it again, because the team needs to know that you want this to work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just his demand for perfection from everyone around him and himself. He was his hardest critic as well.
Now
So,
that's where I'm going to take us now to Dominion High School. You
mhm.
transferred, you transferred to Dominion High School because you saw writing on the wall, and I think it's very interesting. Your whole family moved to go to a school, and you kind of fell on your lap where you got to start right away. You threw for 1,800 yards and 21 touchdowns. How did that feel? Did you know that you could do that right away in your first year at Dominion?
Like, I always, like, I mean, that the year before that was me competing for the job at Briarwoods. So I always had this confidence where I was a Briarwoods player on a team that was always winning. So I was like, I can do everything that these guys are doing. Like, I can do it. I would be next to them at practice and
Right.
game throws, and I'm like, I built confidence within myself. So when I got there, I was, of course I was nervous and everything, but like, I definitely believed that I could do it. Um, so that was definitely a self-confidence thing that you have to have before you step out there.
But you're talking about knowing, getting to understand a new offense, new receivers, maybe a quarterback that were already there. You kind of beat out, so the tension of that, all that fit so quickly, is a credit to you. Credit to you. You
Thank
know, it really is. So that's the experience that you're gonna probably never forget too. Going in there and being the dude right away. Now,
Well,
take me.
I definitely give a lot of the credit because the receivers that year, which were also my senior guys, like, we had a good class. And we had a senior, actually, I'll mention him, when I was a junior. Chad Smith, he was the MVP for Clemson this past year in the semifinal game. And he was my tight end that year.
Oh,
And
wow.
he had that strong leadership, you know. But then after that second game where I proved myself, he himself actually, like, told me to make speech, but that leadership gave me the confidence. And then, of course, like, I had some serious dudes. Like, a couple of them are still playing, and some of them should still be playing. Like, we had a handful of receivers that made it easy on me, for sure.
Just get the ball to the athlete, Scotty.
Yeah,
Listen, throw a little 2-yard pass that can go 90 yards. You threw a 92-yard touchdown in the papers, man.
Exactly. That was how one of them went.
Take me to that prep school now. I want to know that prep school, Midwest Prep Sports Academy, prep school in Illinois. Tell me what was the difference of a guy in a Virginia town going down to Illinois and making a difference there? How was that? Was that a big change for you?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I had left home. I left, and at that time, Midwest Prep was 3 years old. So, like, we lived in a hotel for 3 months playing football. And we had one building where we ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We did our meetings in there. Our locker room was in there. We practiced a mile down the road. So, and we couldn't leave. Like you were in the hotel, in the players' lounge. That's it for 3 months. But like, I loved it because like, you're telling me I can go somewhere and just play football. Like, great. But I mean, we also did an ACT prep course to make sure that we were boosting our grades, our or not our GPAs, but our ACT and SATs.
Right,
So
right.
we were doing that too, to make us more recruitable.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a very big change, and like it was such a culture shock because like, all right, stay in your room, you ain't leaving, like blah blah blah. I was just used to senior year where senior year, and then you just get thrown in. You're like, stay there. So
Okay, so from there, you get a scholarship to Wagner University, which is a nice campus in New York. It really is an up and coming program, 1AA. Tell me about that. And I know you had an unfortunate injury, and then you got your shot, and then you got a kid transferred in. So you got like three different things that happened to you that
mhm.
kind of, that makes you hopefully a better quarterback now at Newport. Tell us about your experiences there.
Right, and like that's what I'll say, hands down. Like the places that I struggled at was where I learned the most. That first year when I tore the ACL, like after I tore it though, I had a lot of confidence that I made noise, and the coach made sure I knew that. Um, so tearing the ACL, like of course, like anyone out there who's listening that got hurt or will get hurt, God forbid, you got to take it serious. And after that ACL tear, like I became faster, stronger. I was a better athlete after it because I mean, that first semester, and it was also my freshman year, like the first year in college, everything. So I was up at 6 a.m. because when I was hurt, I didn't miss anything. Like I would still go to team meetings, team installs. I would sit at practice. Then I would work out on my own. Then I'd go to the training room, rehab for 2 hours. Then I go to study hall. Then I do homework. Then maybe I'd go in later and watch film with the starter because I asked him I wanted just to sit next to you and learn. And like that year, when you're a freshman, jump in the meeting rooms even when you're not invited. Like you need to learn the system fast. So like then being injured gave me that chance to learn it. So like that next year, I very well knew the offense. So then that next year comes though, and they bring in two grad transfers from Ole Miss and from Brown. So they have a three-way senior battle. Um, and then so I'm the fourth behind them.
Right.
And so again, I'm learning, but I'm learning more. And I learned a ton from the Ole Miss kid and the Brown guy and the guy who was already there. I just sat behind them, but I got to travel. So I
Mm-hmm.
got signals. I got to travel to all the games. We went to some crazy cool places.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the season didn't go well, we needed to change it up, and they let me do some Wildcat stuff. So I got to see the field, which was very fast. Like when I first got out there, like it's definitely a shock. Like you go from high school or prep school to Division 1, and like everybody's fast. Like the linemen are fast. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but like through
And,
all
and and big too, Scotty. And
huge,
big.
and like from that though, I learned so much about. Like I'm a better quarterback now because I learned what it took to be a college quarterback. Like you got to be in the film room all the time. That's hands down. You
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure you're physically ready to play every week. That's another given. And then you got to win the team over, and you
Mm-hmm.
got to learn that every day in practice. So
Yeah.
like that from watching four different players be the quarterback, and then that following spring after that second year, like even the coaches were talking me up, like your time, ready to go. But then this bowl MVP guy falls in their hands from FIU, and like, I totally understand you can't let that go. I get it. So, but then that shoved me in the back again, and then they tried to move me around positions, and they put somebody ahead of me that wasn't initially. So then I felt like quarterback in general was done there, and that's when I knew I needed to dip.
Got it. In college, it's a very, very cruel world because they're recruiting guys that are trying to be better than you. So,
Every time.
And you're sometimes got to take the recruits and walk them around, and it's your position, and it's a very unique situation. I've went through it at college in my place too, but college can be very cruel at times, and I had great experience in my college. I was very fortunate to be playing and starting right away as a freshman, and that's what drove me, knowing that there's somebody trying to beat me the next year, the next year. And unfortunately, in some places, you get something like that, a transfer from a Division 1A, and sometimes they almost feel obligated that they have to play the guy there too.
And that's the thing, that they feel obligated to. But then added on to that, I mean, it was also a quarterback. And there's you know, so quarterbacks listening, it's very cutthroat. But like the one thing I will add though is I'm actually very close with all three of the quarterbacks that transferred in, which I'm proud of, because I mean, like, football is so much more than the game itself. Like, as you said about the relationships I have now, like, I confidently can say that, like, there's people in almost every state that I can reach out to and say, hey, I'm in town. Are you here? You know what I mean? And like those three quarterbacks that were older that literally came in to take my spots, like, became best friends. And I still can confidently say, like, hands down. So like, as a college athlete, you need to take these relationships not for granted. Even if they're coming to take your spot, like, you should always have a good quarterback room, linebacker room. You're competing, yeah. Like, you need to be together because you're on the same team. So
yeah. So then you transfer from Wagner. You go all the way across the country to Santa Barbara City College in California. You know, wow. Now you're talking about a really nice place to be at, I would imagine, in terms of weather and all that stuff, right? I'm sure you worked on your tan and you worked on your recruiting when you're there too. What did you learn from there, your experiences in California?
hands down, I'd say I learned the most there because it was the hardest time. Um, Lived in an apartment with 6 other people in a 2-bed, 1-bath.
Right.
You know, lived the JUCO California way, and like, people watch Last Chance U, but like, they're gonna see the new one, and like, California, there's no scholarships, so like, you're living on your own, like, you're paying for your own. But hands down, I mean, that was the first year that on the field, like, whenever I've been on the field, I've always, like, it's always worked out because it's like, as soon as someone gives me a chance, I make it happen on the field. And that was the first year where I got on the field, and it just didn't click. Like, our team didn't play well. I pressed way too much, like, and I couldn't get out of this slump that I was really in. And it was so from that, I just totally learned how to battle through it and how to build your own confidence mentally every play, and just kind of fight through things. Like, like before, when I hit the transfer portal, before I decided to go to Santa Barbara, like, Michigan State reached out and was going to give me an opportunity. But then they said, let's just watch your JUCO stuff, but our coach likes you.
Right.
You know, like, sweet. All I have to do is play like I always do, and I'm good. And then I didn't. So, like, it was extremely humbling, hands down. It was, like, the most humbling time I've ever had. And, like, I just learned, my relationship with God got closer. And, like, I just became a man after that because, when shit hits the fan, like, you got to grow up fast. And I did, because, I mean, I got through it, and I'm better than I was before because mentally I'm stronger, and I trust what's supposed to happen is going to happen. And that's what led me to see you. And, now I know, like, when I get into game examples, I pressed a lot, because I wasn't confident, because we had a rotation, and if you messed up, you were out. You can never play like that. Like, even if your coach is going to do that, if you mess up and it takes you out, like that's fine, that's okay. But you can never play like, oh shit, I really can't mess up because I was playing. That was the first year I played where I was like, man, I really hope this receiver's open on this play. Like you cannot. That's just like saying, I really hope that the guy falls down when I try to tackle him. Like you got to make it happen. And
Mm-hmm.
like it took me till the second to last game to like get that swagger back that I had always had. But like that was a long 8 games where I just didn't have the confidence and like so you got to make it happen. You can't
Mm-hmm.
hope things to fall through, and then you just got to rely on your preparation and you just got to trust that,
Right, right.
So.
Well, you were there for 1 year.
Hmm.
That year, from that, you transferred back to the East Coast to go
Yeah.
to Virginia College, Christopher Newport University, which is in the NJAC, which I don't understand. Me being an NJAC guy, the NJAC stands for the New Jersey Athletic Conference. New Jersey.
Well, I'll say why because we wanted to make sure that we were in a really competitive conference, and I know the NJAC's really respected nationally, so we wanted to be in that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but I'm just saying it's just very unique because most of the teams are out of New Jersey that are
Oh yeah.
back in the day, we had everybody in the NJAC that was from New Jersey. Now it's extended with you guys. And like I said, my dad's going to go to a couple of your games because you're going to be playing, I think, of College in New Jersey. My
Yep.
buddy's real good. My real good buddy is the quarterback coach of College in New Jersey. And, you're going to be playing at William Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I don't know if you're playing at Montclair State
Nah,
or
they're at us this year.
and Rowan too. How about Rowan?
No, we're at Rowan.
At Rowan. So you got some 3 games that the New Jersey, your connections in Manahawkin and
Back to
Park
my
can all go and watch Scotty Forbes play. Now, what can we expect with you now at your college? You're a junior, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're settling down. What kind of offense you guys running? And what do you feel more comfortable with in terms offensively? Do you RPO?
Yeah, I mean, I love them, and we're doing them. We're an RPO. We're a run option, run pass option. We're gonna spread it out. We're gonna throw it around. Um, so it'll be fun, and I'm definitely very comfortable in an RPO read option type. I like to run too, and I like to use my legs to set up play actions and get people to cover four to get their safeties up. Like I like to do that kind of stuff.
You like to also be a run threat in the perimeter, run
Yeah,
pick.
absolutely. And like I like to like extend. I always have thought of myself as like I'm not going to be like Kyler Murray like running 80-yard touchdowns, but like I feel I can extend a play if a blitz comes and then look downfield. That's kind of where I feel like I've been best at. And the thing I love is our coaches at CNU are encouraging that kind of stuff. Like they're our coaches of our coach Mariani, the OC, he's very play within yourself. Like if you're not confident in something, be decisive. Like if you're gonna be wrong, be decisively wrong. If you don't feel good in the pocket, like get out and then look up. Like, just play freely.
Right.
That's literally like exactly what I needed to hear before coming
Mhm.
because before I felt like a robot. And so like I just needed to hear that go ahead, run around, play. So like that's kind of what, yeah.
Nice. Now, how far away is it from your house? This college?
3 hours. So that's
Oh,
good.
really? I thought it was closer than that.
Yeah,
3 hours?
we're right in the top of Northern Virginia, so it's like right in the bottom. So
I'm sure your parents are happy that you're within driving distance.
yes.
Now, all your games though are going to be more north, right?
Uh-huh.
Most of your games are going to be more northbound. There's no other team southern than you. No,
Yeah,
right?
well, they're all North Jersey-ish or Maryland, so
Good.
um
Okay. Well, that's great, man. So, man, I tell you, what a journey, man. I mean, really, when you think about it, like I'm busy with my job here and this and that, and then when your name comes up, it's like, wow, yeah. Now, my dad would tell me, and I'm like, oh, really? And and then you kind of, we're both busy, we're both doing our things, and just hearing how well you're doing. And then when I saw you at Wagner, when I brought Brian Ewan, my linebacker who eventually went
mhm.
to Hart, you were so you were so awesome with them, showing them around all the guys you could tell were good with you. And, it was really nice to get a chance to see. I told my parents, wow, I got to see him. He looks good. He's not the same. He's big. He's stronger. Tell that, you got it, that swag. You're confident in whatever you do. You can tell. And that's something that as a coach, I like. I like to see guys that are confident and, they're not indecisive, off the field too. You want to be the same way on and off the field, right? You're taking care of your academics.
Yes. Yeah, I finished with a 3.9 this semester. So
what's your degree? What are you going for?
economics.
Economics.
Mm-hmm.
So like money, right?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, I like the idea of economics, and that would also lead to me going back to New York City, which I do like the idea of after school. But I mean, the more like being in this quarantine, like the more and more my dad talk, like he just keeps saying, like, "You're a football coach, dude. Like, what are you doing?" So I mean, I definitely can see myself up doing that. But we'll see.
Is that where you see yourself, or are you just whatever right now?
The more and more I think about it, the more I see it, me being a coach, because I think I've been through too much, and I've literally like prep school, JUCO, transferring high schools, transferring colleges. Like I can kind of talk and relate to any player, and like I know about prep schools, I know about junior colleges, I know where to go, I know where to look. So I could just be a good resource for players, whether that's a coach or not.
Yeah.
I don't think I should waste those experiences in a desk.
As long as you take all your steps where you've been at and make that into positives, wherever you go, this resume that we talked about today, I mean, is definitely going to be a person that's going to be picked up on if you do football. I mean, like you said, you've been all over the place and exposed to a lot of different things, and you've been to all places in a positive way too. You didn't leave and burn a bridge wherever you were at, so that's positive, And in today's world with social media, you burn a bridge at one place, people won't know about it. What I like about you and talking to other people that know of you is like, you're very well respected and you carry yourself well, which says a lot about you and your family. So, that's that. So football is a game, and people are looking at in quarantine right now. Like, are we playing the game or is it safety? But in the game of life, you're a winner. And football is how many minutes of your life, the game a week? It's 48 minutes, right?
Yep.
48 minutes that we prepare all year for 48-minute game in a week. That's it.
That's what I'll add to is I think that's the most important thing about this conversation, is that like I dedicated my whole life to football for sure, but football molded me so many ways outside of football. I mean, like I definitely wouldn't be as strong in my relationship with God and stuff, and I just wouldn't be the person I am without football. And I thank football for that, but like it molded me to become a man and to do the right thing when nobody's watching. It helped me get involved with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It helped me learn that like, the young freshman, like he wants to be in on the team. He wants to learn. And like I always took in younger guys now. And like I love doing that. And like, building relationships, just learning so many people's lives and their struggles in their lives outside of the game. Like you really get a whole perspective on life, and that shapes you. And I think that gives me a way to relate to everybody. And that's what I'm most happy about, is that this game changed me forever as a person. And that's what you should let it do to you,
Yeah, probably don't realize it, but you're on my resume too. So I brag about you all the time. I really do. And we do have a relationship that's going to be even stronger down the road. And I'll help you with anything you need in the future.
Thank you.
So, with that, and I'm sure you're going to be helping my athletes too when you're in college, maybe coaching on the college level too. I have connections out there if you want to maybe go out there and coach college level or coaches in high schools all over. So you're a winner, man. On and off the field, your family's tremendous. Our families are really tight. The big thing was this: the people at Southern Regional were always saying, if Scotty was down here, he's playing at Southern. And I said this: I said, let me tell you something. He was moving to Barnegat. And you've shown that you would move anywhere. You would have moved
Yeah,
to
I probably would have moved to Barnegat.
I know you would. And that's all I needed to hear. And you're not just saying that because you're on my show. You
Right.
probably would have moved to Barnegat and played for us, but you did pretty well for yourself. We did pretty well too. But, listen, things have worked well. As long as you be true to yourself, good things will happen to good people. It really,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, no doubt.
So I'm sure your parents are listening right here. And, we have a lot to look forward to. Myself, and especially you. You're young, and you are young to the game of football. And you got another 20, 30 years of doing football somewhere in any capacity. Just keep being you, and you're going to hit these connections. And you never know. I never knew I was going to be a coach out of college. I was going to become a police officer. Going through the academy, my cousin became the head coach in June, called me up, said, you want to do this instead of that? And I decided to do education instead of going through police. Never thought I was going to do what I was doing. Never regretted what I did. I'm very happy what I'm doing, so you never know. But, enjoy your 2 years, compete, I hopefully, William Patterson, and I'm a William Patterson dude. So
funny real quick actually is, so like I was like a partial scholarship guy at Wagner, and the full scholarship guy that year is the quarterback at William Patterson this year. So we've already texted, and like it's gonna be great. So it'll be really fun.
So he transferred out, huh?
Yep.
Where is he from?
He's from Middletown, New Jersey.
Really?
Maybe. He was Middletown North, yes, and he won a state championship there.
Wait, what's his name?
Donald Glenn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's going to be the guy at William Patterson this year.
He's a really good football player. Really good
Yeah.
football player. He's also got a younger brother, too.
Yep.
Or brother. Younger brother. Yeah. The Glenn.
Younger.
Yeah. Coach Bush is a good dude. He's he coached at Syracuse. Yeah, so that's good. Wow, I didn't know it was him. Great.
Yeah.
So there'll be some good quarterback competition in the end, Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, you listen. You better keep in touch, but we are going to talk within the next week or so. I want to hear a little bit of your RPOs. I'll tell you what we're doing too. I love hearing and stealing different ideas from different people. You have so much to give to people with the experiences from all over the country. And, you make me smile hearing how positive, your experiences are. Even when things don't work out, you're like, you know what? You turn it into a positive. And that's a credit to you. And Newport is got a good guy at quarterback right there. And I wish you the very, very best. Thank you for coming on our show. And keep listening. Keep listening, man. We're going to have different guys out there every day. And hopefully people out there enjoy our show. All right? Thanks.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Scotty. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Family, I said hello.
Will do.
All right.
Do.